I'm Anna Hoffman, and welcome to this episode of Data Exposed Live. I am super excited to be having you all with us today. We have a lot of exciting news planned. I'm just checking that the stream is coming through okay. All right, great. So we are good. We want to say May the 4th be with you today. This is a very special day for us. This is something we've been doing for now 3 years. This is our third annual May the 4th be with you episode. So what we have planned for today is lots of updates, lots of Q&A. I have a lot of folks joined here from all over the place to help answer any questions that you might have. On that note, I want to encourage everyone to head over to aka.ms/SQLAMA to ask any questions that you might have. You can also choose to ask questions live wherever you're streaming from, whether it's Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, or if there's somewhere else that we're streaming that you can find us, go ahead and put your questions in there. We're getting them all in the chat. Let's see if anyone's saying stuff today. People are saying hi. Hi, we're happy to have you joining us, Mukesh. And Ree says, welcome. We are super excited for this episode. Feel free to tune in and say hi and let us know what you think of all the Star Wars costumes that you see. Without further ado, we do have quite a few guests joining us today, and I just want to take a couple minutes to bring them all on and introduce themselves. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go down the line, and if you could tell us what, of course, what your name is, who your favorite Star Wars character is, and what topics people should think about asking you. So we'll go ahead and we'll start with Erin.
I had to unmute, didn't I? I couldn't do that with my mind tricks. They're not ready yet today. Anyway, hi, everyone. Erin Stellato. I am on the SQL Tools and Experiences team. My favorite Star Wars, probably Ahsoka Tano. I like her a lot. I didn't have the full gear, though, but I am paying homage to Princess Leia today. And I'm part of the tools team, anything related to any tool, which includes Portal. Portal is a tool, by the way. So Portal, SSMS, Azure Data Studio, DAC Effects, SQL projects, etc.
Awesome. Great. Thanks, Erin. Let's go on to Johnobi.
Johnobi Fieri Morehouse. That's me. And I just let everybody know I did this specifically for Erin because I have hair now. This is normally what I look like, but my name is John Morehouse. I'm a principal consultant with Denny Chair & Associates. I do a lot of everything in SQL. And so I am here to help answer any questions that we have from the field as somebody who is out in the field as a consultant as to what is going on new with Azure SQL and SQL Server in general. I do a lot of high availability disaster recovery, pretty much everything under the sun. So that's what I'm here for.
Awesome. Thanks, Johnobi Fieri. We're happy to have you on the show. And, you are kind of the inspiration behind May the 4th be with you, this series. You want to comment on how you came up with this idea?
You're correct. This is, you and I originally did this 3 years ago. I worked with our wonderful MVP lead, Ree Merritt. There was an MVP Data Exposed edition that happened to be around, and I signed up for it, and it was around May 4th. And I had this wild and crazy idea that we could do this MVP edition via, May the 4th be with you. And you were so gracious to join me in that crazy idea. And so now we've done this for 3 years now, where last year we had a number of return people from Microsoft to also join in character and join us for this.
Awesome.
So it was a whim, and you were kind enough to indulge me in that whim. It was a great time.
It's been a lot of fun, so we're happy to do it. One person who's really bought into kind of having great characters on this is, let's see, Bo-Kate Ton. Kate, thanks for joining us. Tell us a little bit about, who you are and what your expertise is.
Sure. Thank you, Anna. Yeah, so I'm Bo Katan Smith. And I guess my favorite Star Wars character is probably Obi-Wan Kenobi, but obviously I like Bo-Katan Kryze as well. And that's who I decided to channel today. Now, my expertise and expert area is query processing. So things that make your queries go fast. So I'm the person to ask about, indexing issues or query store or any intelligent query processing. That's my area of expertise. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Bo Katan. I am getting some feedback from folks. They are loving the costumes and the backgrounds. Also, some other folks are saying hi. Some people think we're joking. We're not. And some other people saying hi. So again, thanks, Kate. We'll move right along. We also have UC joining us today. Hey, UC.
Hello. Hi. I'm a program manager in the SQL DB team. I am working on the developer features. So anything T-SQL, engine core features, feel free to give me a shout. My favorite character is Han Solo. Right now it's Mandalorian, but yeah, that's where I'm at right now.
Awesome. Thanks, UC. Another returning member we have is Pam. Pam, thanks for joining us.
Hi, great to be here again. Always my favorite show. So yeah, hi everybody. I'm Pam Lahoud. I'm the lead PM for the SQL Server and Azure Virtual Machine team. So you can ask me anything about VMs or SQL on VMs. And obviously my favorite, well, maybe not obviously because my background is messing with me, but my favorite character is Yoda and or Grogu, depending on the day. Grogu's obviously cuter at this point, but so yeah, great to be here.
Awesome. Thanks so much. And to be clear, I was making a joke to Snake Eyes, laughing at us. I'm glad you like our characters. We like our characters too, and we're laughing too. So thanks for joining us. All right. Last but certainly not least, Muazma, let me bring you up.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Edda, for an amazing episode again. And my name is Muazma Zahid. I'm a principal PM manager in the Azure SQL team. I look at everything which is developer related, how you build applications using SQL, different versions of different types of SQL offerings as well. Really excited to be here. I'm trying to give some Dark Vader vibes here, but and not really sure if it's coming across like that. But my favorite character is Yoda, like Pam said. He's very been watching that with my kids, and really excited to be here. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Muazma. And thanks to everyone who's here. I am having, it's been a long time since I've streamed on Data Exposed, so I'm a little bit rusty, but I appreciate you guys joining us. I did not bring out my Princess Leia double buns this year, but I did get a new t-shirt. This is a Amazon Basics t-shirt, so they make them in like a gazillion sizes for kids, adults, men, women, everybody. Not a plug. I wish I was sponsored, but I'm not. Okay, we're going to get into some announcements. So let me pull back up the slides. And just remember that all of those folks you just met are standing by to answer any questions that you have live or on the chat. So keep them coming. We're going to get into some announcements. For those of you who haven't tuned into our show in the past, we typically do a news update. So there is a blog that accompanies this episode. You can go to aka.ms/news update and see the blog live right now from wherever you are. So if you want to learn more about any of the things we talk about today, that's the place to go. All right, so we're going to start by talking about some recent updates for Azure SQL Database. And you can see we have a lot of updates in this space. I'm going to remove some of our people just for a second so we can talk to Muazma about this. Muazma, would you like to kind of give us a rundown of what's been going on in Azure SQL Database and maybe some of the developer things you're the most excited about?
Yes, for sure. Thanks again. So some of our recent offerings and announcements are here, and of course, we have a lot more that you can look at in our dev blogs as well as the announcement channels. I'm really excited about the serverless hyperscales space. So we have very interesting demos in that space. If you're interested, feel free to look at our blogs. What you can do using that is you can provide a min and max scores, vCores, and then you don't need to worry about the scaling of your applications in that sense. So as soon as your workloads increase, we add the compute and storage in the background, and then you can scale high or low. So really excited about that offering. It also provides you cost savings as your workload can vary over time. There are a lot of other great features on this slide. I'm happy to go and take any questions into that. Data API Builder is another one that we recently announced last month, where you can turn databases into APIs. So you heard it correct. You can use GraphQL and REST as your endpoints, and you can connect your databases into APIs. I'm happy to take questions about that as well. You can go to akms/tab and learn more about that. Thank you, Anna.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Muazma. Yeah, Muazma is all things developer and knows everything happening in that space. One thing I wanted to touch on in the performance space is DOP feedback. Now, some of you might have heard of this before, but I'm going to bring back on Bo Kaitan. I'm having trouble saying that without laughing, to tell us more about it.
Hi, thank you, Anna. So DOP feedback is a feature, query IQP feature, intelligent query processing feature that shipped with SQL 2022. But we have to roll it out in Azure. We have to do a sort of a preview and make sure that all the things line up. It's just for completeness. The feature is ready. It's looking good. So we are looking for customers who are running with enough parallelism, enough long-running features to actually participate in our preview. I have a link to my blog here that talks about that, and then there's like a form for customers to self-nominate, and this would just be an opportunity for you to work directly with myself and the development team trying to ship this feature out in Azure and make sure that it's all great.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Kate. Looks like we already have some feedback from Jason. He says, that's genius. You just made my day.
This is the way, Jason. This is the way.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Kate. For folks who don't know about DOP feedback, do you want to give like a brief blurb on what it is and what it's for?
So degree of parallelism is, when your queries run with parallelism, you can actually define the amount of parallelism used while the query is executing. And degree of parallelism feedback, or DOP feedback, basically is a way of finding that that parallelism efficiency place. So if you're using too much parallelism, sometimes you have threads that have to wait on other threads. And so a query that might run with 32 parallel streams could be actually more efficient and use less CPU with 24 or 12 parallel streams instead. So degree of parallelism feedback takes those queries running with lots of parallelism and incrementally and cautiously steps down the degree of parallelism, validating at each step that the CPU time and performance is still looking good. So we won't regress your query as we do that, and we validate it. And then that sort of, as we step down, we find that sweet spot where the query runs quickly and you can maximize throughput of your workload with the right degree of parallelism. So that's the feature that we're trying to test. So yeah, please, if you the blog and the nomination form do have some information about how to tell if your workload would be a good candidate for this feature. So please go ahead, check it out, run the queries that I've put in the blog or in the nomination form to see if it makes sense for you. We'd love to have you on board.
Awesome. Thanks so much. And to our viewers, obviously it's hard to click these links in the screen, but if you head over to our blog, you can get a link to Kate's blog, which includes all the things you need to know to see if you're a good fit for this and sign up for the limited preview. Thanks so much, Bo, Kate, Ton. All right, we are going to keep moving along. The next set of updates I want to talk about is for Azure SQL Managed Instance. Now, this isn't all the updates that just happened in April. This is some recent updates, which include the preview for private links, something that's been available for Azure SQL Database, and customers have wanted that in Managed Instance as well. Some other things around data virtualization, extended link support. So you've been hearing a lot about link feature for Managed Instance, which can help you with things like disaster recovery, even migrations, or getting some read scale in Azure. Another exciting one was create external table as select becoming available for Azure SQL Managed Instance, as well as audit support for managed identities. This has been a big ask from customers. Okay, moving right along from Managed Instance into SQL Server in Azure Virtual Machines. I'm not going to pretend to be the expert here when we have the leader here, Yoda or Pam. Pam, tell us what's new in SQL Server and Azure VM.
Sure. So just yesterday, we released a new version of the Ebsv5 VM series, the double sprinkles VMs that are now bigger and better. They support more IOPS and throughput. Yeah, thanks for switching to the slide. Yeah, so the top end of this series now goes up to 260,000 IOPS and 8 gigabytes per second of throughput. And there's two new sizes, 96 vCPU and a 112 isolated vCPU VM size. And also this NVMe technology, it has been extended down to the 48 vCore size. So from 48 up to 112, all of these sizes got more IOPS and throughput. So like really cool stuff.
Nice. Awesome. I noticed it says FAQ add link once we get it.
Yeah, sorry, it just published yesterday. So like go to my Twitter. I posted a blog yesterday and there's a link to the FAQ in that blog. So
Great.
Sorry, I forgot to
Awesome.
see this.
No worries. I just want to make sure people know how to find it. So just head over. You could see Pam at SQL Goddess on Twitter, and you can find the latest blog, and that also includes a link to the FAQ. Super exciting to have something. I'm going to call this an announcement on Data Expose, like a Data Expose exclusive. So
yes, you've heard it first here, folks.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Pam. Any other updates that you wanted to highlight?
Yeah. There's a couple of things. One is one that we recently released, which is the removal of lightweight versus full mode. So we used to have this kind of extra barrier of entry to our services in Azure Virtual Machine, where you had to put your VM into full mode before you could do any of the, before you could enable any of the features. So we just removed that extra step. So now there's only one mode really. And so we still register with minimal services when your VM is registered, but all you have to do is enable a feature and then you get everything. So we just made that a little easier. And then of course, Azure Active Directory authentication has been a big request from our customers for a long time. This is now generally available if you're running your SQL Server in Azure VM, only if you're running SQL Server 2022, as that is the version of the database engine that introduced AAD support. And then the last one that I didn't mention yet is the premium SSD V2 disk storage. I've talked about this quite a while. This has been out for a while, but it's just getting better and better. It's getting more wider regional availability and more features coming into it. So, and we are working on introducing support for this in our virtual machine deployment experience as well. So all kinds of good stuff for Azure VM.
Awesome. Cool. Thanks so much, Pam. Always excited to hear what's going on in this space and love to make announcements on Data Exposed. So thanks.
Yep.
All right. We're going to keep moving right along our suite of products and updates. The next updates I have are just some recent things that landed in hybrid. Hopefully you're all aware of SQL Server 2022. I'm calling this hybrid because it is our most Azure connected release ever. So if you have not heard of it, hopefully you have, but if you have not heard of it and are hearing about it for the first time, head over to the blog and check out all of our blogs and all the updates, all the great things that we have on SQL Server 2022. Some things that have become available recently for things like Azure Arc include Microsoft Defender for SQL, managed backups for Arc, as well as the best practices assessment. So all exciting things coming down the pipe. One other new thing I wanted to touch on are JSON enhancements. And I think some of this is for SQL Server 2022 and some of this is for other spaces. But to really tell us more about it, UC, I'm bringing you back on. Can you tell us what's going on in this space?
Yeah, hi. So these are enhancements we added in SQL Server 2022, and they are now available in SQL DB also, and SQL MI2. So the main functionality is around how to make JSON objects usage easier in T-SQL, right? To be able to take relational data, construct JSON documents, or test JSON documents in an easier manner. So that's what we did. The JSON object and JSON array built-ins, they are actually in the ANSI SQL standard. So we kind of introduced them for that purpose. So I'll be happy to, take any feedback on this. My email is out there. Yeah, feel free to let us know how you're using JSON today in your database and what we can do to improve that.
Awesome. Cool. Thanks so much, UC, for sharing that with us. Just to be clear, like, is some of this available in Azure SQL Database today?
All of these are right now turned on in SQL DB. In SQL MI, the JSON object and JSON array, we are working on that, but the rest of the functionality is there.
Awesome. Great. Thanks so much, UC.
Cool.
All right. We're going to keep moving along. I think I have some more updates. Let's see. Oh, I have another. This is kind of a sidetrack, but hopefully you all will enjoy it. I'm going to go full screen on my slides so that I can play this super awesome. There's this member of the field at Microsoft. Henry, he works with our customers a lot, and he works with Azure Arc a lot, and he created this video in honor of May the 4th. So I just wanted to play it with you all. Hope you enjoy it. I did. Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed that as much as I did. Our chat that we have for this live stream is going crazy. I don't think our team has seen this before. But my call to action would be to head over to aka.ms/ Azure Arc and learn about joining the dark side. I love all the jokes that he put in here. Also, if you want to follow Henry Rooney on LinkedIn, he's always working on cool ways to make SQL more fun and exciting and funny. I worked with him on a couple TikToks in the past. Cool. Okay, so we will move right along. If you want to watch this video again, you can head over to his LinkedIn. That's where it was originally posted. On the migrations front, I wanted to touch on just a couple things that have landed in recent months. One is our investments in migrations with Azure Data Studio. One of the latest things we added to that extension is the ability to do offline migrations to Azure SQL Database. But you can also use this extension to migrate to SQL Server on Azure VM or Azure SQL Managed Instance, and it has some assessment capabilities, some SKU recommendations. It's super exciting and useful tool for our customers. Azure Migrate is kind of from the Azure portal side, and this is going to allow you to do some assessments at scale. We've also been investing here to enhance that support that we provide. And then Azure Database Migration Service is the service that can actually help you do the migration. This is a free service, and now you can also do login migrations and TDE-enabled database migrations with Azure DMS as well. And moving on, I want to talk about the recent updates in the tools and developer space. There are a lot of updates here. So for that, I'm going to bring on Erin to tell us all about it.
Yeah, there's a ton going on across the team. So this is not just my PM work here. This is the work of the entire team. So we've released 2 Azure Data Studio versions since kind of the beginning of the year, 1.4.2 and 1.4.3. We finally introduced Group by Schema, which was a huge request from customers from the very beginning. We've introduced user management in preview. So if you're in Azure Data Studio and you're like, I don't understand, I right click and I can't create a new user, you might not have the preview option enabled. So check that out. Continue to make connectivity improvements. And the SQL Database Projects extension went GA with the April release, which is fantastic. On SSMS 19, that came out in January. We're working on a 19.1, just so you all know. That 19 is the release that folks, we want them to use that with SQL Server 2022. That's where full support is. And there's some Azure Active Directory improvements, support for contained AG came in there, some improvements with MI-Link, and also support for Ledger. So those were the 2 big tools. And then we also have Scriptum. The library was open source. That was last week. Drew wrote a great blog post about that. We have SQL PowerShell version 2020. Version 22 was released, and that is also out in a GitHub repo where you can put requests and file bugs there. On the portal side, we have tabbed overview available. So when you first go in and look at your Azure SQL database, you've got this set of tabs at the bottom so you can get some immediate insight into what's going on with your database rather than having to go to different blades to see that. And Go SQL CMD. We talked about this at SQL Bits back in March. This will eventually become the replacement for the existing SQL CMD. It's written in the Go language. Very excited about the work that's going on here. Less commands and allow you to do more things through that command line interface. So lots of cool stuff coming out.
Awesome. Great. Thanks so much, Erin. For folks, just go get these tools. Go get the latest tools. All right. I'm going to take a pause. I'm going to bring back up Janobi Fieri. I'm going to put you on the spot here.
Oh, no.
You've been commenting a lot in our side chat about all the things you're excited about. Can you share, some of the things that you're excited about that you've just heard?
Yeah, so there's a number of features coming out or already released with SQL 2022 that I'm super excited about. And actually, there's so many to choose from. Like I had trouble whittling it down. I actually developed a session like the top 5 reasons for me to go to 2022. But when I counted, there were like 58 either new things or new enhancements that got released with 2022, whether it's availability group features or tools like Erin mentioned, or some other component of 2022. There's a ton of stuff on Kate's team, the IQP Intelligent Query Processing team. The DOP feedback, I think, is a phenomenal thing for DBAs in general, because we can enable something and performance kind of magically gets better with us not having to create new indexes or do a bunch of moving data around or doing something intrusive. So tools like that make my job easier, and I can just kind of click a button, I think are really cool. There's some enhancements. The SQL Go command that Erin mentioned is a game changer. I can stand up a local container using Docker or Podman, and actually with a single line of code, install SQL, install a container, restore a database, and get it up and running very, very quickly for local development and testing and whatnot. Which I think is just a really cool feature. I'm super excited about that tool. There's new enhancements in the availability group world, so HA and DR. They've improved, the team improved the redo process when we have availability groups, and the redo queue only is a single thread. We can now have a pool of threads to use. So enhancements like that just makes my job as a DBA so much easier and so much more beneficial. There's too many to talk about, too many.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad to hear your perspective, and thanks for sharing, and sorry to put you on the spot.
The force is with me. I am one with the force. We're good. This is the way.
Awesome. Great. This is the way. Okay, cool. We have some comments on our stream. Thanks for commenting with us. Force is strong in this stream. Great. Some folks are also saying thanks for some of the things that we're saying and some of the answers that we're providing so far. I'm just going to say, please continue to send in your questions. We are getting very close to opening it up and answering all your questions. So put questions in the chat wherever you're coming in from, and we'll start answering them shortly. I just have a few updates. I wanted to talk to you about some of the latest episodes we've released on Data Exposed. So that's here where you're kind of joining us. We've got lots of other videos and short episodes that we do. One exciting thing is the SQL Server 2022 series that I'm doing with Bob Ward. So you want to check that out so you can learn about all of the goodies that John was kind of getting at in SQL 2022. Also some things like getting up to speed on what's going on with change tracking, using serverless SQL pools, using Azure Cognitive Search for Azure SQL. This is a really interesting one as well. And also some other MVP episodes like around capturing query metrics. And Merritt has been featuring in some of these MVP edition episodes. So it's been great to get her out here. All right, we are going to keep moving along. I think I have one more update slide. From an events perspective, we are doing events online and in person. So depending on where you live or where you would like to travel, you can check out some of these events, including SQL Saturday Jacksonville. That's coming up this weekend. So if you're in Florida, you might want to consider driving to Jacksonville. We also have New Stars of Data. Someone from our team, McKenna Barrickman, is giving a presentation there. Shout out to her. Would love to have you all tune in and learn when and why to use the Azure portal. There's an event in Belgium, which would be really fun to go to if I could go. I will not be there, but there will be some sessions from our team. Las Vegas at Dell Tech World, Red Hat Summit in Boston, Microsoft Build coming up in May. All these events are, I believe, in person, but many of them have a hybrid format as well. So wherever you are, in person, virtual, wanting to travel, not wanting to travel, I hope you'll join us at some of these. Let's see if I had any other updates. Oh, I do have my pick of the month. So those who've joined in before, I usually have a pick of the month. My pick of the month came from the Azure SQL Dev blog. This is a really interesting blog. I put a link to it in the news update blog as well. But one of the cool things I found here was related to Azure OpenAI and Azure SQL. So we've all been hearing a lot about ChatGPT and OpenAI. The blog writer here, she commented on how to use Azure OpenAI and Azure SQL together to have more kind of intelligent responses on your database. So basically what you can see from these screenshots is that you're able to kind of in natural language start to query your database. So if you want to learn how to do that, she walks you through this like very great quick start to get started with that. and start playing around. So yeah, that's my pick of the month. And now I'm going to bring back up all our wonderful experts. So stay with me while I do that. I think I got everyone. Okay, we've got a lot of questions coming in. So we're reaching our Q&A part. I'm going to start with some questions we're getting in YouTube. Here we go. Here's one. This one's from Reynaldo Kibble. Any thoughts on SSMS connecting to a contained AG, being able to see availability group folder as well? So that way we can see where the primary and the secondary are and what DBs to sync or not. Experts, anyone want to take that?
I can take it. So that is an existing limitation within SSMS. It's been raised before, so thank you for bringing it up. Again, I don't think that we're going to have any changes for that in the next release of SSMS, which is 19.1. But some folks have heard me talk before about SSMS 20, which actually we're going to pivot to pretty much after 19.1 comes out. We've actually started some work on that. So that might be something that comes in SSMS 20. There's a lot that's coming in that. So I don't want to make any promises that the team can't keep. We're going to, I'm just going to talk about SSMS 20 for 1 second to kind of ease that little disappointment that you might have about me not having a quick solution for your CAD question. But SSMS 20 is going to pick up the new Visual Studio Shell, which means that we get to 64-bit. So that is something that a lot of folks have been asking for a long time. So that will be coming. We're also going to the next version of MDS5 that we need to pick up, which is 5. So that's a client driver side change that needs to happen. And then we'll make changes to the connection dialog as well. So
awesome. Thank you so much, Erin. UC, was there anything that you wanted to add on to that?
The existing availability group dashboard should work because if you connect to the contained availability group endpoint, it should show the thing, the primaries and secondary replicas. Yes.
Cool. All right. So Renato, please take a look and let us know if you still have questions. All right. This next question I think is a great question for Bo Ketan. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to answer this question, but Karthik says, when can we expect query store on read replicas on Azure SQL database?
Yeah, so that is a great question. I can't give a date or specific answer. What I can say is that this this feature is being worked on. We released a preview of it, SQL 2022, and changed some of the functionality. It's actively being worked on. We haven't abandoned it. We know you want it. We're working on it. It will come out sometime. But it's working.
Awesome. Thank you, Kate. I know it's hard to put you on the spot like that. Karthik, hopefully that gives you some hope. But let's keep going and keep your questions coming in from wherever you are. If you want to say hi to us, we'll say hi back. Let's go to this next question, also from Ronaldo. He says, is there a way to use OpenAI in SQL Server 2022 on-prem? I'm going to toss this one to Erin. Erin, you have any insights on what's going on with OpenAI and SQL Server?
So there's nothing coming specifically in 2022 at this time, but I can share that for the next release of Azure Data Studio, we will be able to use the Copilot extension, which is available in VS Code. So that's been available for 8 to 10 months, I think, at this point. And in our next release, which should be this month, we will also be able to use that Copilot extension within Azure Data Studio. So there's a lot in the AI space. There's a lot of work that is going on internally. And stay tuned because we want to make sure that we do this right.
All right. Thanks, Erin. I'm hearing I'm getting some echo, so I will try to be better at muting myself. Okay, let's take a look at some of the other questions that we've gotten. And if you have questions, now's the time to put them in the chat for from wherever you are streaming. This next question says, is there anything new in Azure Compute for SQL Server VM customers? I think Pam already answered this, but Pam, if there's anything else you want to add on that front.
So the newest is, like I said, the Ebsv5, the new what we call NVMe enabled sizes for Ebsv5. This echo is weird. Sorry, it's annoying. So they are, like I said, the highest IOPS and throughput available anywhere in Azure. And then along with that, it's not specifically compute, but the premium SSD V2, which gives you really great performance and configurable IOPS and throughput per drive, which really changes your price performance equation. So I've posted a couple of blogs about this. Again, if you go to my Twitter, I've posted a few things about all that new stuff.
Awesome. Thank you, Pam. Okay, looking at more of the questions. We got one question. Let me pull it up from Glenn Berry. Glenn says, is there any planned release cadence for SSMS going forward, such as every 3 months, every 6 months, etc.? I am going to pass this one to Erin.
Thank you. So historically, we have, prior to last year, really, there's definitely regular release, which is kind of once a quarter. So I wouldn't say it's every 3 months on the nose, but we've tried to do that previously. And moving forward, we had 1 in the first quarter. We had 19 in the first quarter. We're going to have a 19.1 this quarter. So keeping with that quarterly. But then SSMS 20 is a really big investment. We're not actively planning to have a 19.2. So the time that it's going to take us to get to SSMS 20 is going to be decent between 19.1 and that release. So there's going to be a gap. But in general, for SSMS, we try to release once a quarter.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Erin. All right. Looks like we have a question here from Karthik. Kate, I'm not sure if you're going to be able to answer this one. It says, is there an option to disable Azure SQL auto plan forcing for a given query ID? And if Kate doesn't have an idea, does anyone else want to comment on,
you can't. That? You don't have the ability to selectively do that for a specific query ID. So it's an all or none at the moment.
Got it. Okay. Thank you, Erin. And hopefully, Karthik, that helps answer your question. Okay, let me take a look at some of the other questions that we've gotten. One is, when will compat level 160 be available in Azure? Who wants to take that one? Okay.
I do. So I'm going to introduce compatibility level is basically something that we use in the query processing space so that when you move from one version of SQL to the next version, your plans and your workload stay stable, right? With the idea that you would validate your performance on the new compatibility level before going to production with it. Now, what we do, and so this is compatibility level 160 corresponds to the default in SQL 2022. It is available in SQL, in Azure, but it is not the default. So you can opt into it, and it would be default for new databases only. Just to be clear, that's how we've historically done this. When you create a new database, you would get the new default compatibility level. As it currently stands, we are still moving those intelligent query processing features out into Azure. I just talked about the DOP feedback preview. There's several other features coming up for preview very soon. So we are going to deliver that whole suite of things out to Azure, and you can expect that to come soon. And while that's happening, once those reach public preview, then that would be when we would be looking at turning it on by default, so that when it is default, you also get all the stuff that comes with it in SQL 2022. So soon, but you can try it now. So don't, if you're interested in compatibility 160 and you want to start adopting these features as they come out in preview, absolutely, that's the way to go forward. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Kate. That makes a lot of sense. This next question is very targeted. This question says, John, what are you seeing with customers? I guess they're looking for an opinion that is not from Microsoft strictly.
So that's a really broad question. I think a lot of customers are looking for new features, obviously for new features to enhance their performance, make things easier, more stable. I do have some clients that I'm trying to get to move to 2022 and to use some of those new features. Most customers are always hesitant just because things are kind of stable 2019 or wherever they're at. So I don't personally have any clients running 2022 yet. I do have some clients in the Azure SQL database space. So obviously, when that goes and we can flip to 160 compatibility, I will get them there as soon as I can. I do, and most of my clients are looking for, I got a couple that are really interested in the IQP space. So that's Kate's team, specifically like the DOP feedback, things that can enhance their performance. They're really in tune with because it just makes their job easier as well. They sell more widgets, they make more money, and then I get paid as a consultant. So that's always a bonus.
Awesome. Thank you, John. Other questions we got. This one says, can you tell me more about Data API Builder? I'm going to pass that one back to Muazma. Can you share a little bit more with us?
Yeah, thank you, Anna. Thanks for the question. So if you go to aka.ms/dab, anyone who's listening, you can find more about what DAB is, Data API Builder. As I explained in the initial introduction, that you can turn databases into APIs. You can use REST or GraphQL. We have built the engine in open source. So you heard it right. You can contribute to the engine itself. The whole repository is done in the open source in GitHub. If you go to that link, you will find more information. You can create issues. You can contribute to that engine itself. We have also done the next step to integrate it very tightly with Azure. So if you are using static web apps in Azure, you can actually go to static web apps, let's say starting there, creating a web application or mobile application. You can go to the databases pane and then just connect to SQL right there from that site as well. So it's very well integrated with the Azure ecosystem. You can create application using static web apps and then use databases as APIs on the back end. So we're really excited about that, what developers are going to do in this space using this. Feel free to share your feedback with us. Connect with me either offline as well, or go to the Data API Builder open source repository and add any comments, features, requests that you have in that space. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Muazma. Keep your questions coming in. This next question, again from Glenn, says, are you looking at leveraging AVX512 for anything in the IQP space in the future?
So we don't reveal future product roadmap until we're ready to announce. But that's a great question, and I could certainly take it back to the team and talk about it. But we can't reveal any future product roadmap in our until we're ready to release something. We can't talk about it. So
makes sense. Thanks, Kate. I think that probably applies to Karthik's question too. If there's any updates or roadmap in the column store space, I don't know if anyone has any recent updates to comment on in that space.
Yeah, I can quickly comment. I can do a quick comment on the column store space. Yeah, we don't have any new updates recently, but if you're particularly looking for something, please provide that feedback in the chat. I would try to take that back to the team who's working on it and make sure that they know that you're looking for something specific to the column store.
Awesome. Great. Thank you, Muazma. This next question, I'm thinking this one's going to be good for you, Pam. This one says, what changes were made to enable the higher IOPS and throughput on EBS v5?
Yeah, sure. That's a great question. So what's cool is that there's been a lot of work in Azure behind the scenes that is not necessarily visible to customers, but they've been making a lot of changes to like the software in the host machines, in the backplane in Azure data centers, doing things like enabling RDMA end to end and all the communication, and then this the use of NVMe in the host machines to facilitate all of the kind of communication that's going across the Azure network. So what's happening here is like the software that actually communicates to the remote storage from the host machine itself, all of that is being offloaded on hardware offloading cards and things like that. So there's all kinds of new hardware technology in the background that's allowing us to go even higher with these IOPS and throughput limits on your virtual machines. And all of this is because of improvements that are happening in the background. And I don't know if they're ever going to go public with any of this. There's been some talk of doing some branding, because I know AWS likes to brand like their Nitro technology and all of that. We have all of that in Azure. We just don't kind of advertise it. So that's what's coming up. And there's even more. There will be. We're not done yet. So so there'll be lots of future announcements coming as well that's leveraging all this new technology in the Azure data centers.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Pam. Folks, we have a couple minutes left, so go ahead and send in your questions as you have them. We got one, it's more of a comment in the forum, but I'm going to mention it anyways. This person said, loved the April Tools Day, Erin. This is something I actually thought was really exciting too, and I mentioned it in my blog post. Didn't mention it here. Erin, can you tell us about April Tools Day for folks who don't know what you did there?
Yeah. So on April 1st, we had a blog post called Happy April Tools Day, where we really kind of debunked some of the myths and misconceptions around tools. So we get a lot of user feedback, which is great. That helps us understand what we're not doing so well and what gaps we need to fill. And it also helps us identify where we're not communicating or evangelizing very well. So for example, we had someone comment that Azure Data Studio runs really slow on Mac, and there's actually a ARM64 specific build for Mac now. That was all of that work was just finalized in the last release. So whether you've got ARM64 on Mac or on Windows, we have builds specific to that. So make sure that you're running the correct build. And there's a bunch of things like that. I think I had 5 or 6 or 7 or so in there. And I thought this would just be an annual kind of post, but in going through some recent feedback, I've discovered that we have more misconceptions. Like someone stated that Azure Data Studio is missing an Object Explorer, and we do have an Object Explorer. And so those are the kinds of things that I'm looking to highlight within that April Tools Day post. I'm not sure if we can do another one though for another time of the year. We'll have to see.
Yeah, you might have to come up with another joke or just move to like Mythbusters. Yeah. Or every first of the month could be a Tools Day.
Could be. I like it.
Cool. Thanks, Erin. This next question is about optimized locking. This said, I've heard a lot about optimized locking. Where is it available? I'm going to pass this to you, Kate, but actually for folks who don't know what this is, Kate, maybe you could start by telling us about
Yes, absolutely. Optimized locking is really, really amazing. It just came out, and I don't think that it's gotten the fanfare that it deserves. But what it does is we change the way we do locking when you do updates to tables. So right now, if you have a transaction updating rows in a table, you have to if you have one transaction that has to wait for another transaction to go, we have changed the granularity and the scope of the locking so that you can have 2 transactions, one updating rows here and one updating rows here, where they aren't overlapping. And I think it will absolutely change and transform the speed and ability to do data modification, DML queries, updates, deletes, whatever to your table in a much quicker way. And optimized locking it's already there. If you're in Azure, you have it. It's turned on. it's working for you. You can't really see that it's happening, but it is. It's there for you, and it will come out in next time, if and when we release another box product, it will be there too. It's going to go everywhere we ship this part of the product. So, but optimized locking is really, really stinking awesome. And it's one of those. What do I say? Optimized locking is like finding the mythosaur, right? Like it's way bigger than you think it is. So here we are. So yeah, I think that optimized locking, there's blogs about it. If you're not familiar with it, but it just came out and it's everywhere. So absolutely check it out.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Kate. Hopefully you all will go check that out because it is a very exciting new capability. One thing, just looking at the comments, we've gotten some people who are excited about our May the 4th be with you. I just want to, thank all of our viewers for tuning in, and thank all of our wonderful speakers for coming and committing to the bit and helping share all the announcements that we've shown today. As we think about closing, I want to remind folks to head over to aka.ms/news update to get all the latest news, everything we talked about today, links to learn more. You can also find references there to all of the other blogs that we have. A couple things to keep on your radar. Remember that Microsoft Build is coming up soon. It's just a few short weeks. We'll have Microsoft Build. This is our developer-focused event that is Microsoft-wide. We have some really exciting things coming for SQL. Of course, I cannot reveal those things to you today, but I can encourage you to show up and stay tuned. If you are not following us on Twitter or YouTube, that's a great way to stay up to date on a regular basis. Otherwise, we will do another AMA probably in 2 months or something, and you can check out the Data Exposed episodes every Thursdays and our MVP edition episodes once a month on a Tuesday. I want to thank everyone for tuning in. Thank you, Glenn, for tuning in and asking questions. Thank you to all of the wonderful folks on the call, especially John Obi Fieri for this wonderful idea. I think that's all that I have to do to say for this May the 4th, but I hope the 4th is with you, and we hope to see you next time on Data Exposed.
Thank you.